That's funny. I was supposed to do some video call with a girl, but no, I'd rather fucking play Magic the Gathering. But like, I'm always so tired when I come home, so I just said I'd do it tomorrow. But this is like the modern state of dating or socializing or whatever. Like, right? You don't even have to do it in person anymore. Just go and do it on a video chat or something. But yeah, we're gonna continue my foray into basically playing my two least favorite colors in the game, which is both blue and white. Right, because like why just punishing myself by doing one or the other wouldn't be enough. So we're going to probably waste some of these on there too to make some shitty cards that, again, I'm always like, I feel more happy about just doing a mechanic that I want to do for now, at least. We'll get around to doing whatever, trying to get to Mythic one time. That's basically what I'll do. The finale for this series will be I'll get to Mythic once, just that's good enough, and then. But I'll try to do it still in my style using one of these gimmicky themed decks. But the point is that once I do that, then I'll move on to like Magic the Gathering Online, right? Just whatever that other one is that resembles maybe the game more closely. And what I would do if I was a big streamer that had the resources or means to do it, I would go back through the history of the game if they would even let you. Like there'll be some sort of copyright thing, like you can't host your own tournaments or something, even though I hosted Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments in the past, even as small and unknown as I was, so I didn't never got in trouble for that. But basically I would go through all the past history of the game expansions, like from the earliest ones on, and I would like host my own tournaments and basically say, we have to use only the cards from the very first expansion ever and do a tournament like that. And then we have to do cards only from the first two expansions or only from the second one, right? And so you go through and do sort of a time walk. I was trying to do that like with Yu-Gi-Oh with all the synchro stuff. Like I would go back to the earliest synchro ones and try to play it back from the beginning, because that's basically when I stopped playing or lost interest, that I never liked synchro and I never wanted to do it. The one thing we don't have, I like this picture here. The one thing I don't like here is that we don't have like multiple decks to really resume. Wait, why does it resume if I lost? That's weird. I did that and I only like won one game. Oh, it makes it think like I didn't play it at all because I didn't fucking win a single game. Like how could he have possibly played 3 matches and only won like one? Not even one match, but like one game in one match, and then I still lost the best of 3. But I don't have like a fallback with respect to, I like to alternate between like 2 decks. Like if I lose one, what is this menu even? This isn't how it ever looked before. Right? Or maybe I don't look at the recently played enough, but I thought it would normally just show like one thing. This kind of looks different somehow. I don't know. But yeah, basically people have been saying in YouTube comments and stuff too for this series, like don't play, let's do best of 3. Don't play timeless, but I get destroyed in historic anyway, so the point is to play either one, right? Uses every card in Magic the Gathering Arena. That's basically why I like historic in the first place. A curated list of cards throughout the history, but why not just every card in the history of the game? And that's much more fun for me. In fact, I almost want to do it here where I could do the same thing. Like I could go with the oldest cards possible. It's just that there is no format that would really support that, right? Like you'll get destroyed no matter what you do, but again, it's fine for now as long as I'm playing what I want to play. Which I don't really even want to play this because I hate both of the colors, but obviously, I don't know. It's just like we've done enough green, so I haven't done that much black, to be honest. I've done a little bit of red, messing around with the Sarkhan stuff. But yeah, like I like to use stuff just to try it, you know what I mean? Just to use it. And that's kind of a strange concept to people. Or even if I, have done something before, then I'm like, okay, I want to hard commit to one mechanic and just do it because I like it, right? It doesn't matter whether it's good or not. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Like I'd rather win my way. If it was like a team sport or something, you'd be like, oh, that's so selfish. But that's even how I am in potentially team-based multiplayer games. Whether I win or lose, it's like I want to do it my way, right? That's more important, the style rather than the outcome. So if I want to beat you at chess, I want to beat it without having studied openings and without having studied at all. And if I beat you in a card game, I want to do it using my own kind of deck, not just whatever the best deck is that anybody could use. Or again, even if it's something like League of Legends or something, okay, maybe I want to I want to just build my character in some unique way that I like, not the optimal way. And then the point is I should still be good enough and I should still be able to beat you. But people don't think like that because they're always like, they have no sense of identity. It's just like everyone will do the same thing the same exact way. Right, and then it's just like who does it slightly better. And you know, that's the way the world works. Like it'll still be the most efficient way of doing things, but you gotta have like a sense of style. That's why I like Richard Rapport so much, the ultimate troll. Like he's a great super grandmaster player, but he's also a troll. Like he just does what he wants to do and he has his own distinct style that even other grandmasters can't describe as anything other than like rapport random BS. Just even they are at a loss for even how to categorize it, and it doesn't stop him from still being so good. So these things are not very good value. I mean, I'd have to literally self-mill to make that effect work, and even then it wouldn't even be worth it. But thankfully they've done nothing up to this point, so at least I can kind of take advantage of them. I do want to do another 10k draft this expansion. I always say that, but then I don't think I've ever done more than one. I always just do them at the beginning, right, just to try out the new cards or whatever and get a lot of them added to my collection because that's what the 10k draft is all about. But no, it's like, what do you call it? I almost wanted to buy that 5,000 text line. I was going to say voice line like I was saying last time, but those little quotes like yeehaw and stuff like that. Just because I have so few of those, that would be kind of at least a different... that would be a different Undercity Sewers, but this isn't World of Warcraft. They copied it. It would be a case where you're basically able to... However will he deal with it? 5 mana, 2/5 hexproof. Yeah, a lot of these people have crazy off-the-wall win conditions, but I like how people would blame Timeless format as a placebo effect. Have you seen me play Historic, or have you seen me play like any other mode, period? Like, I'm obviously going to get, I guess not, because I've only really played Historic and then this. But the point is that, you know, I get destroyed in that too. So you might get destroyed a little harder and more often here, but it's just, you know... it's still gonna be the same thing. Like, it's not really the fault of Timeless. That was happening kind of anyway. You fell for my master trap. Now you won't be able to get rid of this flying one that's gonna be unmitigatable damage, even though they're probably just never gonna summon a minion for the rest of their life anyway.
A fight?
But no, I want to do a 10k draft and then potentially get those voice line ones too.
Haven't you ever
There's nothing in the mastery tree that I really care about. I've almost been enjoying not having to worry about that because, you know, some of the expansions I had to really do the daily quest every time, whereas the last couple expansions I just don't give a shit because there's nothing in there that I want. Like getting the dinosaur Gishath was obviously very important, and some of the other ones. In fact, I don't know if I looked, but like, what dinosaurs do they have in this expansion? Probably not really very many. The last one didn't have any at all. Murder at Karlov Manor, but this probably won't have any. And even if it does, there won't be any blue ones. Okay, so this is an amazing board, the best that we're gonna get. There's just got to be like some sort of limited format, not limited as in, oh, you can only use the newest cards, but limited as in, you know, like, you can only use cards of a certain rarity or somehow, because most of the stuff I use is not very good. So that's the kind of format I want, where people are also going to use stuff that's not very good. But, you know, there's just no way to restrict that. Like, I can use whatever I want. So I can go back through the history of the game and use the shittiest, oldest decks ever. Or I guess they wouldn't even be shitty by that criteria. They would just be like, you know, it would have been okay at the time, or whatever, just something suboptimal at the time, but it would just be so old that it won't keep up with the power creep of what you currently are expected to do. You see this thing so many times, and it's not even really that good, but that's one of the most commonly played cards though that I've ever seen in the game. These are both good. 4/7, 4/5. The fact that it has Death Touch is kind of irrelevant to me. But I love when they are using something good, but then I still end up winning anyway. Like, just they're not expecting me to. It's some sort of weird, like, Oh shit, I could afford to do that even again. I baited him to kill the other one, but it doesn't matter because I didn't trade in anyway, so that was kind of a clown play. No, but it's like, you know, it'll be some anti-meta thing. Like, they're expecting to have built their deck around the idea of like, oh, I'm countering all the other meta decks. So if they go against a deck that isn't meta, that isn't as good as the meta decks, they'll still get destroyed because, you know, they won't be expecting it. So, oh no, I didn't play around that. It's like what you sometimes hear in chess, like, oh, I don't know this weird opening, I don't know this weird line. But it's like, I don't know the line either because I'm just doing random stuff. I don't, you know, so if you play out of the box that they play in, right, you can throw people off so easily because, yes, they're really good, and yes, they know all the best things, but you're using something that's not fitting within those confines. So it exists kind of in its own world, and you're basically like, you know, you're doing something so unconventional that it just doesn't matter, right? It's just the exception to everything else. That animation is really cool, actually. Yeah, let's look for actually zombie dragon. Let's look for actually some dinosaurs potentially. A blue or a white dinosaur from this exact expansion. Or I guess it wouldn't have to be, but it would have to be like hexproof for me to justify using it. Right, because that's mainly what the theme of this is. Either hexproof or ward. And it would have to be blue or white as well. I guess it wouldn't have to be a dinosaur. It could just be anything. I wanted to make a ward deck rather than a hexproof deck because I've used hexproof already so much, but you know, it's just basically a better version of ward, just like an infinite amount where it just can't be targeted, period. So ward should come at a lot lower lower threshold of cost. Like, you know, you'll have a 6 mana 4/4 hexproof versus like a 6 mana 5/5 ward 3 or something. Like, it shouldn't cost as much basically because it's not nearly as good. Okay, we're obviously gonna lose, but we can still win the next 2 in a row, which I often never do that. And I can't blame the fact that, oh, it's a blue deck, that's why I'm losing, because, or blue/white, because of the simple fact that, you know, we usually get our ass beat no matter what we use, but that's fine. Yeah, it's like they're playing into all the meta stuff, but it's not a case where they would expect that. So I love that, and that's sort of a form of entitlement. Like, oh, I'm using a meta deck and I'm countering every other meta deck, but also you're not using one, boo-hoo, so that's why I lost. Like, it's weird because you're using something worse, but somehow it works because they're only accounting for the best things, or they wouldn't know how to play against it, or they think you're holding something back. So it's like the ultimate bluff mechanic, right? Not by like holding control or all down that makes it seem like you have a play, that kind of internal bluff mechanic in the game. No, the real bluff mechanic is like, they think, oh, surely this guy's not just using a clown deck where he's playing stuff on the board and just, you know, expecting that to win him the game in the year 2024 in timeless format, no less. Oh my god. We're just not getting lands, and I don't have any other way to really get them. And I do have a decent amount in there, but I sometimes just get mana screwed like this at the beginning. Yeah, it's like they would never expect that your deck would be as shitty as what it actually is, but then it is, but then they couldn't deal with it. They think you're holding back some crazy combo or win condition yourself, even though you're not. That's why my win condition is like the what the fuck? The truly old school one, in which you're able to look at it like why I was called Kaiba Jr. by certain people right at a certain time. Not because, oh, I was so good, but because, you know, you would play in that way, like you're trying to just summon something big and just win on the board and do something very conventional. This is much more in the spirit of old school card games, but or not even old school card games, but like the earlier states of any card game is going to feel more like that, right? Regardless of your style of play or anything else. And then you kind of drift farther and farther away from that over time because it's just so over the top with some of the effects and power creep and things like that that you get. See, a lot of these decks can start off so slow, like they just don't do anything, and so they give me the opportunity to take over the board, but also these minions are so bad value. I think Ward might actually be the ticket, because that's going to be probably much better value. But can you imagine I wasted a Mythic Wildcard on this? Like, it's really not good, and I don't even like it, but it was just, you know, I wanted to get something, and it's the only, like, Mythic Hexproof that was actually decent, or that maybe I didn't already have, or I don't know if I even have any that are Mythic. It's not a mechanic that there are a ton of cards that actually have it in the game, right? It's kind of like one of those obscure, underutilized things, which is totally me just being like a hipster, right? Use the thing that nobody else uses, or in Hearthstone context, use the thing that nobody uses and it doesn't even have an official name, just because it had that really long written out text like can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. That's not the description of the effect, that's literally what the effect was called until they finally added elusive as the namesake 10 years later. A player permanent with hexproof can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponent controls. Imagine that was the name of it. You just have to read that out every single time. Yes, very good game. Fuck. At least that one, his deck didn't have to be very good. But no, there's a certain unsatisfying quality on 2 levels of like a certain bloat element. Like when you play a game for the first time, like if you played this right now for the first time, right? You would basically, okay, let me look through some things, but people would say, oh, you should use something current potentially, right? But the problem with that is the simple fact that, let's say you did, you don't even know the difference, right? So everything would be new to you anyway, so why would you feel the need to do that? But also on the second level, it feels like, I don't know, it's like this principle that you're getting too much value for nothing, which is like the whole synchro summoning thing from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Even by the game's own internal logic, even though there were still ways to subvert it before that, like special summons and things like that. But generally speaking, what was the principle there? You have to summon something weak and then let it sit there for a turn, and then tribute it the next turn or later for something stronger, or tribute like multiple things for like a, you know, higher than 6 cost card, or whatever, like a god card for 3 of them. So you have to tribute stuff. So you have to get some board presence, let it stick there. If it survives long enough, then you get rewarded by being able to tribute it and summon something stronger. So that was the whole principle, right? But then the power creep pushes that away, and now it's like on turn 1 you can do these million synchro summons, special summons, crazy stuff just for doing nothing. You're getting rewarded just for having the cards that you have, just for playing the game, just for buying the cards, like just for paying the company money. Oh, now we get these stronger, newer cards that just give you value for doing nothing. So it's not even a principle of like a preference. It's like even within the game's internal logic, you don't have to build up towards something. You're just given it from the very beginning for putting in no work at all, right? That's kind of the problem with it. This thing must be in my deck, right? Whenever you commit a crime, fuck. This game is encouraging people to commit crimes in real life. Like a kid's reading that effect to their parents. Whenever I commit a crime, I get to do this effect. Okay, come on. What are we trying to do? We're trying to find white or blue, either hexproof or ward. And I think I have most of the hexproof stuff in the game, probably. It's just... or a lot of it will mention it, but it's not actually a minion, or it's not actually a well-statted minion. Invisible Stalker. I was trying to do that in some sort of Invisible Stalker OTK sense. Just the idea. See, we're already at like 5 cost stuff. Like, there's no low cost. Yeah, let's just go with Ward and accept what we're going to have. Okay, Ward 1. It's got to be kind of more than that, though. But it's a good excuse just to use stuff, just to fill in certain spaces. When it gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is its toughness. So for 4, you're turning it into 4/4 temporarily, which is not really bad for a 1-cost card, but it's just not worth it to have to do that every turn. First Strike, Ward. Just want some decent, reasonable cost ones. Right, that have decent value. 2 cost, Ward 1. As long as it's equipped, it gets +0/+2. Each other human you control gets +1/+0, has ward. 1-3. Let's see if there's something that actually stands out in terms of value. Whenever Sky Warden, I hate that because it's just catching that because it has Ward in the name in a different sense. When Fairgrounds Warden enters the battlefield, Ward 1, Ward 2. Yeah, this just doesn't seem worth it because they'll just pay the extra cost and it's still fine. Like, how much is that really going to hurt them? Flying Lifelink Ward 2. This has got way too many effects. Disguise, when it's turned face up, exile other up to X target creatures from the battlefield and or creature cards from graveyards. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to owner's hand. Hub Warden. Mutate, Lifelink. That thing looks actually quite cool. Like that. This is some sort of other version of Diablo that you could come up with or something. That actually looks sick. Lifelink 2. Whenever this creature mutates, create 2/1/1 cat creature tokens with Lifelink. I was basically trying to make it a buff deck, like where I summon the Invisible Stalker and then I just buff it like crazy and then one-shot them, or not even OTK, but just like you're chipping away and they can't possibly damage it, or they can't possibly kill it because, you know, they're hexproof. So they would have to use like an AoE, and even the AoEs you would mitigate for the most part by buffing it further up. So once you get to like 4 or 5 health, there's going to be very few AoEs that can kill it, but then there are still some that just kill minions regardless of health value, like just hard removal AoEs or some sort of exile effect that would bypass everything else, or like a creature effect. Sanctuary Warden enters with 2 shield counters. I guess that could be a manner of speaking too. You could do hexproof, but you could do ward, but you could also do just shield counters. But most things are only going to have 1. Flying Ward 2. This is my kind of value, but in before it has a negative effect that I haven't read it yet. I'm just kind of speculating. Sleep Curse Fairy enters with tabbed with 3 stun counters on it, also known as simply being a green card. 1 mana 3/3. Oh wow, you get that for green without paying any cost at all, or something very minor, right? Like that's so fucking stupid. Untap it for 2. Like, it's not a bad card, really. I'll actually put one of these, but I don't even have room in my deck, really. I don't think. Ward 2, a crew creature gets +2/+1 and oh fuck. Or no, that's actually not bad. Whatever, I'm just gonna waste the wild cards as soon as I get them. I'm probably not even gonna use some of this stuff either. I don't have very many of them either. 1 rare. Like, what is the best Reservoir Kraken? Some of these are actually pretty good value, but then when you actually look at them, Trample Ward 2. I do like the appearances of a lot of these sea creatures, even though I'm a more fan of dinosaurs and green stuff. I do like the aesthetic. Like, there is a certain creepy vibe, or almost like a, I don't know, like N'Zoth, Old God, Lovecraftian, creepy vibe to some of these. Like, think about it in a real world context. Like, there's so many very deep sea creatures that we don't even know about, or you would never see on like a regular basis. A lot of those horror stories about like, oh, the Kraken, right? That is some mythical creature. It's actually a real thing. They just live super deep underwater, and you never really see them very often. Trample Ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, if it's untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If it's untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, tap it and create a 1/1 blue face creature with this creature can't be blocked. Very strange card, but I like it. Now we have multiple things that feel like they're overly overrated just by their effects. Let's say she just used every single, well, I won't say that with certainty, but Flying Ward 2, like, these are actually decent value. When Excessive Collector deals combat damage to a player, seek a card with mana value equal to the number of cards in your hand. I like the flying hole aspect with it, because you're just basically what you're trying to do is make something so hard to get rid of that you can just keep whacking them with it and there's nothing they can do about it. If we have like multiple copies of stuff in the other deck, I'll just add them to that, I suppose. When it enters the battlefield for each player, choose up to 1 target creature artifact creature controls that player controls for as long as it's on the battlefield. It becomes treasure artifact. Oh, I can't even make that. You have like all these other card appearances or something too, right? That you can, yeah, like that. There was some other menu for that too, but I forgot what it was. Flying ward, like almost like some of these things are made for me just to troll, like, you know, haha, you can't get rid of it and I'm just gonna whack you with it. Almost the kind of thing that would trigger me if I was using my green decks like with no removal in them. 5 mana 2, ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls, and oh, that's actually good. Like, what's the downside? Just it costs a little more. Some of these pictures are fucking awesome, though. This is like from some mobile game ad, like, whatever. There's a stupid Hero Wars or something like that, right? Where they have all these stupid things. Like, there's this big girl and she knocks the guy down, and then he has to climb back up, and he gains a level every 5 seconds. I've seen that like a million times. This looks pretty cool. Immurth Desert Doom, 5 mana, 5/5 with flying, has ward 4 as long as it's untapped. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Okay, that's actually pretty good, badass. That would have been better to get than that stupid ass whatever I have, the Mesmer from Subnautica type vibes, even though I've never played Subnautica. Oh, here's another one. Ward 2, whenever you cast non-creature spell mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. For 4, return it to the battlefield. Exile it, then return it transformed under its opponent's control. Activate only its sorcery, or under its controller's control. Owner's control. As this saga, draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size for as long as you control it. Return all non-Phyrexian stuff to creatures' hands. To owner's hands. You may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Exile the Great Synthesis and return. Okay, dude. This is such a fucking complicated effect. Front face up. So now what is the front face though? Does that just mean the minion again or something else? Ward 2. I guess some of the ward stuff we didn't even have. But no, for the first time in a long time, I actually want to use just flying ward 2. 6 mana 4/6. I'm fine with that. I want to actually have 0 cards for some reason. Wild cards. I just want to use them all. So we'd have to find something that we can even make with what I have. I don't know why I'm so eager to do this. Like, just clean everything out. That thing always looks pretty cool. I create cards either by just the gimmick preferences that I like, or by I wouldn't be able to use this. So I thought I was in red and white. Oh, it's just, or I mean blue and white. It just mentions it. But no, like either that or just based on the pictures, not actually based on whether they're good or not. Flying lifelink. Each legend. Okay, then I can do that. Vigilance ward, can't even make it. I don't mind it being a hybrid one. I just need it to be something I can actually craft. Owl, flying ward 2. Whenever you cast a creature spell, cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. I don't know about that. I don't cast spells really in general, except creatures do count as spells, so that has a certain legitimacy to it. A lot of this stuff is garbage. That thing is stupid. Damn it. Gotta find any one random thing here that's going to have... Okay, this would count. 1 cost, first strike, ward, disturb 3. But it doesn't matter at that stage. Like, when they cost that little, what difference does ward 1 even make? 1/3 when no, that's not gonna be it. When a creature enters the battlefield, equip creature gets +3/+3 and has ward 1. Equip 3 of this ability costs 1 less to activate for each other equipment you control. I mean, I guess I'll just do that, but again, ward 1 is not really very good. We would have to see like what all did we just make that we could potentially add into here. I still do want like a dinosaur pet, but I guess I missed whatever chance I might have had to do that. Or how do you even judge this again? Like every single time you open a pack, 3 more packs until your next rare, 15 more until your next mythic. I mean, this is almost a mechanic I should use, like actually buying packs with your gold, but instead I'd rather buy shitty stupid cosmetics like I do that in... Well, like in PvZ Heroes, I've just been buying the event cards instead of actually getting packs ever. Exactly what you should be doing on a free to play first playthrough. Like even that, you're buying like overpriced individual cards, like 500 for one card, and they're sometimes not even that good. But in this game, it's like, oh, I'd rather buy cosmetics. So both of those decisions though are kind of bad. So this thing we can change around a little bit. Certainly, anything that has like 3 copies we can get rid of, or even like, I don't know. So all of the Rapids, Living Conundrum. It's not even like these are in there for any particular reason, just because I'm trying to use the whatever. So there are going to be a lot of these. Ward is exclusively basically what we just made. In fact, let's just get rid of everything. Although Invisible Stalker was the whole fucking point of this deck, so I don't mind having 4 of those in there. But yeah, basically anything where you control them with like the whole flying aspect. 4 of those, or again, the buffs were the whole thing. Basically just like unmitigatable damage that you're trying to create. So go like this. But yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of OTK potential with this, but whatever buffs I was looking for are not really up to the standard. But it wouldn't even have to be OTK, right? You just turn it into like a 5/5, and then they're 4 turns away from dying, but it's obviously not going to happen that easily sometimes. Ward, it's just some sort of card game fetish that I have. Like, oh, you know, you want them to feel like so powerless, like there was just nothing they could do about it, and they're just screwed, even though they're using like a really good deck potentially. Ward 1, it's just not going to be good though. That's the thing. It's just not going to be good. Backup 1, okay, we got to just skim through, look for actual ward, not stuff that just mentions it. 3 mana, 3/2, Ward 2. As long as it is equipped, I'm still fine with that, I guess. Also, buff card, but not a very good one. Ward 3. When Seal of Existence enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Non-land permanent. I mean, that's kind of cute. So, like, it would just be hard for them to get rid of it because it has Ward 3, and it has a very sick picture to it. Damn, that's badass, dude. If I wasn't using invisible, you know, I'll still make that the cover. But you can barely see it from there. Where are all the ones that like I just made? Like this one, you would have to pay 2 to untap it. I mean, with 3 tapped with 3 stun counters on it. What is if a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped? Remove 1 from it instead. So you're trying to tell me you would have to do that 3 times? Even doing it in itself would be that bad. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this? This is so garbage. It's enters with 3 stun counters. Oh, I guess it'll happen over the course of turns, though, too. I mean, it's definitely very efficient in terms of the cost. Like, just 1 mana, 3/3 with flying in Ward 2. But, like, it's so stupid to try to deal with that. Ward 2, equipped creature. Okay, that's fine. Flying. Creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's not really gonna work though. You gotta have ward or hexproof to make this actually make sense. That one we also just made. That thing I like the picture. Flying vigilance ward. Like, why don't I have that? Flying vigilance ward 2 whenever you commit a crime. Oh yeah, because we're anti-crime. We're trying to teach the kids a lesson who play this game. Flying vigilance ward. Okay. Even vigilance I don't really care about. This one we just made 2. 1 less you cast for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. That's fine. So you got 2 more left to fit in. Put a random creature card, mana value X or less in opponent's library. Perpetuate has base power toughness, gains Ward 1. Flying Ward 2. But it has green in there. I don't want to use that. Damn, even with that we don't have still enough to do. What's another good one that we would like to have multiple copies of, I guess? I guess just that stupid flying one is sometimes pretty good. So, well, it's not really good, but it's just like, it encompasses what this is all about. Like, just flying and hexproof combined is kind of a troll thing to do. Or, I guess you can get rid of one of those. Okay, that's fine. So the only mythic one that I really have, or I should actually look... Mythic hexproof. Would it actually know what I'm looking for then? No. Or there could just be none of them in the actual game, or none of them for the 2 colors that I'm using there. Yeah, we're using a picture. That almost should be a rule, that I shouldn't be allowed to do that. We're using a picture of a card that we don't even have in there just because I like the way it looks. I don't see why that matters, actually. Right, it's just like the card box that you get. The only game that lets you actually see those kind of things is like Pokemon TCG Online that I remember. Like, it would show the box of your deck actually out there on the board, on the mat or whatever. No other game does that, really. But yeah, we're getting close to wanting to actually try Magic the Gathering Online overall. But it would be better if I just end this series and then move on to that. But the only way I would do that is if I get to rank 50 or not rank 50 Mythic. But I wouldn't want to rush that either. Or actually, the real win condition for the series was supposed to be collect every green card in the game. But you can see how I'm meandering with that so much. Like, I'm crafting other cards that aren't even green. Like, yes, I would like to do that, but it would also be impossible to do it because you'd have to play the game a lot more, and you'd have to spend money, real money, or you'd have to also, you know, just keep up with the current cards. Like, there's no way I could possibly do that. Okay, that's a pretty good hand. Considering how badly I've gotten mana screwed, that's actually a great hand. Giganta, the Wellspring, that little stupid companion mechanic that I don't use. I also don't use sideboarding. I also don't use, obviously, I don't spend money. These are all like actual formats of the playthrough, right? In addition to it just being like a blind first playthrough, basically. The world's first ever, because nobody would ever do it like that. But I mean, it's hard to say, like, to what extent it's blind, because even by seeing what your opponent is doing, you could obviously just copy their deck. So I wouldn't have to net deck, but I would just, whether I want to or not, I would just know what they're using from that. Like, they're going to be using a meta deck, a meta deck that you net deck, but basically you would see it from that purpose, so you could just copy theirs. Right, so you can pretend. That was always a problem, like in MMOs, right? Like you would inadvertently just hear stuff like in trade chat or somewhere. You would have to turn everything off. That would end up helping you even if you didn't want it to. Power and toughness are equal to the number of Oh, I keep cucking myself. I could have played stuff by now, but I'm just not using the right color now. I'm not used to using hybrid decks.
Let's try this.
Ah, yes, of course. As if Time Warp wasn't a troll enough. Oh, wait, that's not even the one. That's not even the one that gives you, like, the free extra turn. Here we go like this. Put the mace down, put that down. Enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 on target creature, which includes itself. Territorial Kavu. Power and toughness equal to the number of basic land types among lands you control. Right, I love that as like a idea on power creep. Like, remember in Pokemon when the energy just used to be energy, and now it's an energy that also gives you a buff and has all kind of other effects too, like it increases their attack or it gives them lifesteal or, you know, all this kind of stuff. It was the same thing with lands. Maybe at the beginning of Magic, lands were just lands, like just for the color, just for that, you know, mana aspect. But then later on it'll turn into like, oh, you know, now it also gives you buffs and other mechanics and all kinds of other things. But you can't say that's like a really pay-to-win mechanic, but it's more just like a power creep mechanic. That's something that's so basic as just trying to give you your core resource is going to now give you all kinds of other benefits as well. I've been probably more tired in this series than most other ones because Monday's usually a day that I, you know, or I guess Hearthstone I might that too. Ever seen somebody half asleep play Hearthstone? Oh, right, it's 2023, skull dead emoji. But no, it's like, you'd be in a position where Sunday and Monday might be the 2 days where I'm the most tired like that. Oh, fuck. We're just gonna lose to this before we can even fucking do anything. I kind of botched it at the beginning though. Like, at least this one's sort of my fault. That you're able to basically... you're basically able to take advantage of the fact that... Nothing really. You can't survive this anyway. I don't like to resign, but I also don't like how long some of these games can go on for.
I'll protect you.
Stomping ground of what, though? Of dinosaurs? Of dragons? The ley line conduit will not be disrupted. The line from, Ley Guardian Aragos from fucking the Oculus. Random reference. We need more boss quote lines from this game. Like, either the avatars say it or the... whatever. Some of the cards say it. Really, the only ones that do are the planeswalkers themselves. But even if you have the same planeswalker as your hero, they won't say anything, which I find so weird. Just copy paste some of the lines here in ways that would make sense as you do the emotes and things like that. But yeah, that's one thing I don't think I've seen in this game in like even a year and a half of playing, even though I only do it like once a week and only for like an hour. But I've never seen like a game end in a draw where like both players somehow die at the same time. Would it seem like BM even not to resign, but I mean, you never know. But here you kind of do know, because there's nothing in my deck that could possibly deal with this and potentially save me. But we get another chance at least. But no, I love the best of 3 and I love historic in general. But I guess timeless is just an extension of that. Like, you want to be able to use every card in the history of the game, or at least as many cards as possible. I don't know why historic wouldn't just be like that anyway. You can just use any card in the history of the game. Like, why would historic be limited either? That's what it implies. Like, you get to use all the historic cards throughout the game's history, not like, you know, you can only use the ones that we curate for you to create this illusion of balance, that you're really going to still have everybody jump on the bandwagon and use the same thing over and over just because it's good, or just because it works, or because they know it from somewhere. Okay, that's not bad. I kind of forgot that the Invisible Stalker was even the core element here that we're looking for. Right, like, for example, now we can just beat on his face for 20 turns with this and we'd still win. Or almost more like just 10 turns if we get the other one to actually work. Okay, let's actually try to get these stalkers out there and actually try to buff them. Or maybe I missed a chance to do that, or maybe I shouldn't put them all out there at once, like the sitting ducks that they are. So this is actually our win condition in effect. You couldn't block it, you couldn't remove it. You're just kind of screwed. You just have to sit here for 10 turns and take it. And not heal, and that's what it would take for me to actually beat you. You want to buff one of these and just keep it going, and you also get maybe the ability to do this. Flying other creatures enchanted by auras. Base power that are enchanted by auras you control. That might not have been a very good move, but... Or you can't even use it yet. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. That's just to actually put it down. You pay 3 and then you pay another 3. This dude is literally about to put me to sleep, but all I have to do is buff up the fucking invisible stalkers, and they're not gonna have a way to deal with it. And even if they did, it's like an AoE, they wouldn't be able to actually use it in time or anything like that. I don't like this song just because it actually has vocals in there. I find that part kind of a little bit distracting. Even there's like 3 layers to it. A song with, like, that are perfect for chess or something as well, like song with no lyrics, song with lyrics but you don't understand them, and then song with lyrics but you do understand them.
Phyrexia's story infects the mind, becoming unforgettable. You do not write this story.
Okay. Flying, other creatures have auras, blah blah blah. Now this could also be unmitigatable damage here that you can just keep doing. That's going to be 2, so it's not going to take much to actually finish you off. Once again, getting off on the powerlessness of tap. Artifact creature doesn't untap. Okay, fine. Niv Mizzet Reborn. Dragon Avatar, when it enters the battlefield, reveal top 10 cards for each color pair. Choose a card that's exactly how those colors are from among them. A card that's exactly those colors from among them. Oh shit, I heard you like Invisible Stalker. As if flying wasn't a degenerate cheese mechanic enough already, you would have to get fucking something better. So are we actually going to win this one and make a comeback? Probably not. Or whoops, I forgot about that. Gigantha's not going to save you now from the wellspring. I don't fully understand what that mechanic even is, but
Collected enough data. The past contains the blueprints of the future.
Who isn't just any hamster? He's a mini. Look at us. We are tough. Bigger is always better.
all I need is like this one turn, or kind of not really, though. You're still not going to be able to buff this shit. But I like his inability to get rid of the invisible stalkers at all, or anything hexproof. Right, that's where it can be such a frustration for them. Okay, so you just ignore that. You can't even kill any of it. Go hit him for 3, so you need like a buff of a +5/+5, but you're just not gonna get it. Okay, bring out this very high value card, or actually we'll do that one instead. You'd have to sack into there. We're kind of just running out of space, and I'm actually going to end up dying because I won't be able to block all this shit anyway. Right, you shouldn't overcommit this hard, but then again, this thing isn't really meant for that kind of thing anyway. Or yeah, if they have healing, that always does me in too as a mechanic. Like, I just can't deal with the fact that they can heal.
Look at us. We are tough.
If your win condition's so limited, then they can drag the game out by force that way, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So they'll be like, you know, you can't complain because it's better than it just being completely unplayable. Jesus Christ, that at least took him a long time to do that. Did you have fun? Sure. Mainly because I'm barely even awake and I'm fucking dozing off. So let me actually waste 5,000 gold on those voice lines, assuming I even get enough for it. It must be meant to be, except we're not even... Black or red, kill 15 of your opponent's creatures, which is gonna be, you would think that would have been a lot easier to do, potentially. But mainly I've just been doing that every single time. Maybe I don't really even want them. 5,000 is a lot, but you don't get offered these kind of things too often, or even if you do, it's like, I don't know, this, like 1,000 or actually 5,000. Howdy, yeehaw, 3, 2, 1, draw, which always, that's kind of a funny line. Like instead of draw your gun at a showdown, draw your card. What in tarnation? Pondering. We can role play as Raphael from Yu-Gi-Oh! How he's out in like the desert and he's riding on a fucking horse and shit like that. So we got, oh, that actually doesn't look bad. Damn, I might be more inclined that I would want that. I didn't even notice him there before. What else is there that we could do? Like, I guess I could try to... I don't know, you'd have to do like one thing here, which I don't even want to use necessarily those mechanics, but you would just need one black or red spell. Let's just do like one game of some other deck, even though I'm generally not supposed to be doing this, like red. I tend to not like to do that in general, like where I, you know, like I play a deck just to do some objective or something like that. In fact, maybe it's a sign that I shouldn't even get those. Right, but we want to save the 10k for another draft. This is like maybe one of the only times I've ever had 0% of these either. Or like 0 of these of any kind, just because I made a point to try to spend them all. Let's look for one more thing, like the dinosaurs in the recent expansion, and under white and black, or white and blue, which these aren't really known for having that many anyway. So I guess you could just look through here like that. Or I guess white has a couple. Maybe blue just doesn't have that many. But no, specifically I want to see maybe the most recent ones. But maybe there's... Yeah, even this has like a whole thing behind it too. Like, you know, how can there be enough dinosaurs for this? The abundance of foes in Orazka means the Raptors no longer need any orders. So here you have... how do you actually see this? Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So how many dinosaurs would there be? 0. There's 0 fucking dinosaurs and Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and there's only one thing that even mentions it. Like, what the hell is that? Scalestorm Summoner. When Scalestorm Summoner attacks, create a 3/1 dinosaur creature token if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Okay. What about maybe a dinosaur with ward? Maybe a dinosaur with hexproof? Like, I doubt we're gonna have much of anything here. Let's see, what was this one here? Bellowing Aegisar. Enraged whenever balancing Aegisar is dealt damage with a +1/+20 counter on each other creature you control. That's pretty amazing, actually. Okay, see you tomorrow.